When I gave birth to my baby girl, I thought my sister was my biggest supporter. She begged to babysit so I could finally rest. But when I came home early one night, I found her doing something so disturbing with my newborn that I almost collapsed. That night, I vowed to destroy her, and I did, piece by piece. If you've ever trusted someone only to have them betray you in the worst way, hit that like button and subscribe. This story is a roller coaster of family drama, betrayal, and revenge that you won't see coming. Hi, my name is Natalie, and this is the story of how my life was destroyed, and how I destroyed them right back. When my daughter Ava was born, I thought my life was finally complete. I had a loving husband, Adam, who had been my rock throughout my pregnancy, and a sister, Brooke, who had been by my side since childhood. We grew up close, or at least, I thought we were close. Brooke was always a little competitive with me, but I chalked it up to normal sibling rivalry. Growing up, Brooke had always been the wild one while I was the responsible, older sister. She partied, dated bad boys, and barely scraped by in school, while I worked hard, built a career, and eventually settled down with Adam. When Adam and I announced we were expecting, Brooke cried tears of joy. She said she couldn't wait to be an aunt and promised she would help me every step of the way. But looking back now, I can see the cracks in her smile. I should have noticed how forced her excitement seemed. The first few weeks after Ava's birth were a blur of sleepless nights, feeding schedules, and constant exhaustion. Adam was incredibly supportive, but he had to go back to work sooner than I did. That's when Brooke swooped in with her offer. "Nat, let me babysit," she said one afternoon, cradling Ava in her arms. "You need rest. You can trust me. Please let me help." At first, I hesitated. Brooke didn't exactly have a track record of responsibility, but she looked at me with those pleading eyes, and the truth was, I was desperate. I hadn't slept more than 3 hours in a row in weeks. My body was still recovering, and I could barely think straight. So one Friday evening, I finally agreed. Adam was working late, and Brooke insisted on watching Ava for a few hours so I could shower, nap, and maybe even just breathe. When I came home that night, everything seemed normal. Ava was asleep in her crib, and Brooke was sitting on the couch scrolling through her phone. She gave me a bright smile and said, "See, easy peasy. You should trust me more often, sis." I felt relieved. Maybe I'd been wrong about Brooke. Maybe she really had matured. Over the next 2 weeks, Brooke volunteered to babysit more often. Sometimes while Adam was at work, sometimes even when he was home but buried in emails. She was so eager, almost too eager. One night, Adam mentioned something strange. "Natalie," he said, frowning as he dried the dinner dishes, "does Brooke ever seem, I don't know, possessive about Ava, like more than normal?" I laughed it off at first. She's just excited to be an aunt. It's new for her too. But deep down, a small seed of doubt began to grow. Then came the night that changed everything. It was a Wednesday evening. I'd planned to visit my friend for coffee while Brooke babysat, but my friend canceled last minute. Instead of texting Brooke that I wasn't coming, I decided to surprise her by coming home early, maybe even catch a sweet moment between her and Ava. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed Brooke's car parked crookedly, as if she'd rushed to get inside. My stomach fluttered with unease. The house was quiet when I unlocked the door. Too quiet. Ava usually made some kind of noise, even in her sleep. Then I heard it, a soft, strange humming coming from the nursery. I crept down the hallway, my pulse pounding in my ears. When I pushed open the nursery door, my breath caught in my throat. Brooke was standing over Ava's crib, rocking back and forth, whispering something I couldn't quite hear. Ava wasn't crying, she was silent, eerily silent. I stepped closer, and that's when I heard Brooke's words clearly. "You don't need mommy. Mommy doesn't love you like I do. I'm your real mommy now." My blood ran cold. For a moment, I froze in the doorway, my entire body trembling. My brain couldn't process what I was hearing. Brooke's voice was soft and soothing, but the words, they were twisted, possessive, wrong. Ava stirred in her crib, letting out a tiny whimper, and Brooke immediately leaned closer, whispering, "SHH, baby girl, it's okay. Mommy's here. Mommy will never leave you." That word, mommy, it was like a slap to my face. "Brooke," I snapped, my voice cracking with rage and fear, "what the hell are you doing?" She jerked upright, spinning toward me, her face pale. For a split second, there was something wild in her eyes, like a cornered animal. Then, just as quickly, her expression smoothed into a fake smile. "Nat, you scared me," she said, laughing nervously. "I was just soothing her, that's all." I rushed to the crib, my hands shaking as I scooped Ava into my arms. She felt warm and safe against me, and tears stung my eyes. "Don't you ever call yourself her mommy again," I hissed. Brooke blinked, feigning innocence. "Oh, come on, Nat. It was just a joke. You're so sensitive lately. Postpartum hormones and all that." But it wasn't a joke. I knew what I'd heard. I clutched Ava tighter, glaring at her. "Get out, Brooke, right now." Her face hardened and her tone shifted. "Really? After everything I've done to help you, you're just going to throw me out like some babysitter you don't need anymore?" "You need to leave," I repeated, my voice like steel. "Now." Brooke stormed past me, muttering under her breath, "Ungrateful. You'll regret this, Natalie." The front door slammed so hard the windows rattled. That night, Adam came home to find me sitting on the couch, clutching Ava and shaking uncontrollably. When I told him what happened, his face turned red with anger. "She what?" he exploded. "Natalie, that's not just weird, that's dangerous. She sounds obsessed." I nodded, tears streaming down my face. "I know, but she's my sister, Adam. I keep thinking maybe I misunderstood. Maybe she didn't mean it like that." Adam took my hands gently. "Nat, listen to me. We can't take chances. From now on, Brooke doesn't babysit. Not ever again." I agreed. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. For the next week, Brooke bombarded me with texts and calls. At first, they were apologetic. "I'm so sorry, Nat. I was just playing pretend with Ava. Please don't be mad." "I miss her. Can I just come by to visit? I promise I'll behave." When I ignored her, the messages turned guilt-trippy. "Wow, so you're just cutting me out of your life now, after all I've done for you. You think you're such a perfect mom, but you're not. You're selfish." And then they turned dark. "You can't keep her from me, Natalie. She's mine too. You'll see, Ava belongs with me." I showed Adam the messages, and he was furious. "We need to block her, maybe even get a restraining order." But blocking Brooke didn't stop her. She started showing up at our house unannounced, banging on the door, demanding to see Ava. Sometimes, she would just stand across the street, staring at the house for hours. One night, around midnight, I heard a noise outside Ava's window. When I pulled back the curtain, Brooke was standing there in the darkness, her face illuminated by the moonlight, a strange smile on her lips. I screamed, and Adam ran outside, but Brooke was already gone. That was the moment I knew she was dangerous. This wasn't just sisterly jealousy anymore. This was an obsession. We decided to install security cameras and change all the locks. Adam even suggested staying at a hotel for a while, but I didn't want to be chased out of my own home. A few days later, I was at the grocery store with Ava when an older woman approached me. "Excuse me," she said kindly. "Are you Ava's mother?" "Yes," I said cautiously, adjusting Ava in her carrier. The woman frowned. "That's strange. There was a young lady in here yesterday, said her name was Brooke, and she told everyone she was Ava's mother. She even showed us pictures." My stomach dropped. "What did she say exactly?" I asked, my voice shaking. The woman looked uncomfortable. "She said you weren't fit to raise Ava, that you were unstable. She was telling people she was going to take custody." I nearly dropped Ava right there in the store. Brooke wasn't just obsessed. She was actively trying to steal my child. When I told Adam, his jaw clenched. "That's it, I'm calling a lawyer, she's crossed the line." But I shook my head. "No," I said, my voice trembling with rage. "If we go through the courts, she'll just lie and twist everything. I need to stop her before she can hurt Ava." "How, Nat?" Adam asked, his eyes filled with concern. "What are you saying?" I stared down at my sleeping baby, my heart pounding. "I'm saying, it's time I take matters into my own hands." Adam swallowed hard. "Natalie, what are you planning?" "I'm going to make Brooke wish she never laid eyes on my daughter," I whispered. Adam tried to protest, but I cut him off. "She's been playing games with my family. It's time she learns what happens when you threaten a mother's child." And in that moment, the Natalie I used to be, the forgiving, naive sister, ceased to exist. I wasn't just going to protect Ava. I was going to destroy Brooke, piece by piece. The first step was figuring out exactly how far Brooke's delusion had gone. I started quietly gathering information. I went through her social media accounts, her friends lists, even her old text messages that I still had saved. What I discovered chilled me to the bone. Brooke had been posting pictures of Ava online, pictures I'd never even shared publicly. She'd been taking them while babysitting and pretending Ava was her own child. The captions were nauseating. "My beautiful baby girl, Mommy loves you so much. Just the two of us against the world." But the worst was a recent post, shared only to a private group. "Soon she'll be mine completely. Mommy's coming for you, baby." My hands shook as I took screenshots of everything. This wasn't just a twisted fantasy anymore. This was premeditated. And if Brooke thought she could take Ava from me, she had no idea who she was dealing with. I stayed up all night staring at those screenshots, my chest tight with rage and fear. Brooke wasn't just unstable, she was dangerous. The thought of her hands on Ava made my skin crawl. Adam found me in the kitchen at 5 a.m., sitting at the table with my laptop open and a cup of cold coffee untouched beside me. "Nat," he said gently, rubbing my shoulders, "you need to sleep. You can't keep running on fumes like this." I turned to him, my eyes bloodshot. "Sleep? Adam, how can I sleep when my sister is plotting to take our baby?" He sighed, crouching down beside me. "I know you're scared, I am too, but we need to think this through. We can't just act on anger. But anger was all I had left. It was the only thing keeping me from collapsing under the weight of betrayal. No, I said firmly, my voice low and cold. We can't sit back and wait for her to strike again. She's already spreading lies about me. What if she goes to Child Protective Services and tries to paint me as an unfit mother? You know how convincing she can be when she plays the victim. Adam's jaw clenched. He didn't like where this was going, but he knew I was right. What do you want to do? He asked carefully. I leaned forward, lowering my voice to a whisper as if Brooke could somehow hear us through the walls. We need to make her reveal who she really is publicly. If everyone sees how disturbed she's become, no one will believe her lies. Not the police, not CPS, not anyone. How are you going to do that? A bitter smile spread across my face. Simple, I said. We let her dig her own grave. We just have to give her the perfect opportunity. The plan began with small, subtle moves. I didn't block Brooke on social media. Instead, I started posting carefully curated updates about Ava, making it seem like Adam and I were going out more, leaving Ava with sitters. It was bait, pure and simple. Brooke couldn't resist. Within days, she was messaging me again, her tone sugary sweet. Nat, I've been thinking, I know things got heated, but I really miss Ava. Can we please just put this behind us? Let me babysit just for an hour. I promise it'll be fine. I didn't reply. I just kept posting pictures, me holding coffee cups with captions like, finally some me time. Or Adam, and I having dinner at a restaurant, making sure Ava's stroller was visible in the background. And sure enough, Brooke's obsession spiraled. She started leaving comments like, I bet Ava misses her real mommy. And, you shouldn't leave her with strangers, Nat. Bad things can happen. The final straw came when I received a private message that made my blood run cold. If you won't let me see Ava, I'll just come get her myself. She needs me, even if you don't understand. That was it, the moment I'd been waiting for. I contacted a trusted friend of mine, Hannah, who worked as a tech specialist for a security company. She helped me set up hidden cameras throughout the house, in the nursery, the living room, even near the front door. Every angle would be covered. Next, Adam and I staged a fake night out. We announced on social media that we were going to a late dinner and a movie, hinting that Ava would be staying home with a new babysitter. In reality, Adam and I parked our car a block away and waited in the shadows with a clear view of our house. My heart pounded so hard, I thought it might break my ribs. Are you sure about this? Adam whispered, his hand squeezing mine. I need to know, Adam, I said through clenched teeth. If she's really as dangerous as I think she is, this is the only way to prove it. At 9:42 p.m., Brooke's car appeared at the end of the street. She didn't even bother to park legally, she just left it idling as she rushed toward the house. Oh my God, Adam breathed, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. I forced myself to stay still. Wait, I whispered. We need her to go inside. Brooke approached the front door and pulled something from her pocket. It glinted under the streetlight, a spare key. My stomach twisted. She must have stolen it weeks ago. She slipped inside silently. My phone buzzed a second later as the live camera feed kicked in. I watched on the screen as Brooke crept through the living room, heading straight for the nursery. Her movements were frantic, almost feverish. "Mommy's here, baby," she cooed softly. "It's okay, Mommy's here to take you home." My vision blurred with tears of fury. This wasn't just my sister anymore, this was a predator. Adam reached for the door handle, ready to burst in, but I grabbed his arm. "Not yet," I hissed. "We need her to incriminate herself completely." On the screen, Brooke lifted Ava from her crib, holding her close and swaying. Ava started crying, her little arms flailing. "SHH, it's okay, baby girl," Brooke whispered, kissing her forehead. "We're going far away from here. Mommy's going to keep you safe." Then she pulled out a small duffel bag and began stuffing it with Ava's clothes, bottles, and diapers. That was all I could take. "Now," I snarled, shoving the car door open. Adam and I sprinted to the house. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely fit the key in the lock, but somehow I managed to burst through the front door. Brooke froze mid-motion, her face twisted in shock and fury. "What the hell are you doing?" I screamed. She clutched Ava tighter, backing toward the window. "You weren't supposed to be here," she shrieked. "You don't deserve her, Natalie, you never did." "Give me my baby, Brooke." My voice was raw, guttural, animalistic. Brooke's eyes were wild. "No, she's mine now. You don't understand, she needs me. I'm the one who loves her." For a terrifying moment, I thought Brooke might actually try to jump out the window with Ava in her arms. But Adam lunged forward, blocking her escape while I reached for my phone. "It's over, Brooke," I said, my voice trembling but steady. "The police are on their way, and guess what? We caught every second of this on camera." Her eyes widened in horror. You set me up." I held up the phone, showing her the live feed. "You did this to yourself." Brooke's face crumpled. She let out a guttural scream, then dropped to her knees, still clutching Ava. "Please, Nat," she sobbed. "Don't take her away from me, she's all I have." I pried Ava from her arms as gently as I could, my heart breaking for the sister I once loved, but also knowing there was no going back. "You need help, Brooke," I said quietly, "but you'll never get near my daughter again." When the police arrived, Brooke's demeanor flipped instantly. She began wailing and accusing me of abuse, claiming I was an unfit mother and she was just rescuing Ava. But when I handed the officers the video evidence, the lies crumbled. They cuffed her on the spot. As they dragged her away, Brooke screamed over her shoulder. "You'll regret this, Natalie. She's mine, she'll always be mine." Her voice echoed in the night, long after the squad car disappeared. I thought it was over. But a week later, I received a letter in the mail, a legal notice. Brooke was petitioning for custody of Ava from jail. My hands shook as I read the words. "She's not going to stop," I whispered to Adam, tears streaming down my face. "Even from behind bars, she's still trying to take her." Adam's face hardened. "Then we'll end this once and for all," he said. "No more waiting for her to attack. It's time we go on the offensive." And in that moment, a new fire ignited inside me. If Brooke wanted war, I was ready to burn everything she cared about to the ground. The next few days were a whirlwind of lawyers, court dates, and endless paperwork. Brooke's petition for custody was a slap in the face, and I couldn't believe how brazen she was. Even from jail, she was trying to paint herself as the hero and me as the villain. Her claim was chillingly calculated. She alleged that I was severely depressed, emotionally unstable, and neglectful. She included screenshots of texts, taken out of context, where I'd mentioned feeling exhausted and overwhelmed after Ava was born. She even attached statements from a few of her friends, claiming they had witnessed me being negligent with Ava. It was all lies. But in a courtroom, perception mattered as much as truth. I stared at the documents, my hands trembling. How did she even get people to sign these? This is insane. Adam paced the living room, his jaw tight with fury. She's manipulating them like she manipulates everyone. Natalie, we need to fight fire with fire. I nodded, swallowing hard. I won't let her win. If she wants to destroy my reputation, then I'll destroy hers first. That night, while Adam rocked Ava to sleep, I sat at my desk and opened the folder where I'd been collecting evidence. Photos, videos, text messages, everything I'd gathered since Brooke's obsession began. And as I scrolled through it all, a dark idea began to form. Brooke had always been good at playing the victim. Growing up, she'd get into trouble constantly, skipping school, stealing money from our parents, sneaking out to parties, but somehow, she'd always find a way to twist the story so I looked like the bad guy. But this time, she wasn't just lying about me. She was lying about Ava's safety, and that was unforgivable. So I decided to hit her where it hurt most, her image. I reached out to a few of Brooke's old friends, people she'd wronged over the years. Women she'd stabbed in the back, ex-boyfriends she'd cheated on, even a former coworker she'd been fired alongside. Most of them were hesitant to talk at first, but when I explained that Brooke was trying to steal my baby, they opened up like floodgates. The stories they told me were shocking. Brooke had a long history of manipulation, theft, and lies. She'd stolen money from her own best friend, sabotaged a coworker's promotion, even faked a pregnancy once to keep a boyfriend from leaving her. And I documented every single detail. Once I had enough material, I set up a private Facebook group under a fake name and began uploading the evidence. I titled it, "The Truth About Brooke." At first, it was just a few screenshots and personal accounts, but then I posted the most damning piece of evidence of all. The full video of Brooke breaking into my house and trying to take Ava. Within hours, the group exploded. People were outraged, comments flooded in. "Oh my God, this woman is terrifying. She's clearly unstable, that poor baby." I knew Brooke in high school, she was always bad news, but this is next level. By morning, the video had been shared hundreds of times. Brooke's carefully crafted image, as the doting, perfect aunt was crumbling before her eyes. The next time we went to court, Brooke looked like a ghost. She was pale, her hands shaking, her once perfect hair a tangled mess. When she saw me, her eyes burned with hatred. As the judge reviewed the evidence, I sat tall, clutching Adam's hand. Our lawyer presented the footage from the hidden cameras, the screenshots of Brooke's disturbing posts, and even testimony from neighbors who had seen her lurking outside our house late at night. Brooke's attorney tried to object, but it was useless. The truth was undeniable. When the judge finally spoke, his tone was firm and cold. "Miss Brooke Daniels, based on the overwhelming evidence presented today, this court finds you to be a danger to the child, Ava Daniels. Your petition for custody is hereby denied. Furthermore, a restraining order will be issued, prohibiting you from any contact with the child or her parents for a minimum of 5 years. Brooke let out a strangled cry, slamming her fists on the table. No, you don't understand. She's mine. She's supposed to be mine. The bailiff had to physically restrain her as she screamed and sobbed. I didn't move. I didn't even flinch. I just stared at her, my face blank, while inside, a storm of satisfaction raged. But even as she was dragged out of the courtroom, I knew it wasn't enough. Because Brooke wasn't the type to give up. And I wasn't done with her yet, either. Over the next few weeks, I quietly tracked Brooke's every move through the network of people in the private group I'd created. She'd lost her job because of the viral video. Her boyfriend dumped her after finding out she'd been lying to him about almost everything. Even our parents, who had always taken her side growing up, refused to speak to her. Brooke was unraveling, and I was the one pulling the threads. One evening, while Adam bathed Ava, I sat on the couch scrolling through updates about Brooke's meltdown. She's living out of her car now, one of the group members messaged me. Saw her at the gas station crying to herself. She looked rough. I stared at the message, my emotions tangled. A part of me almost pitied her. Almost. But then I remembered standing in that nursery, watching her whisper to my baby, calling herself Mommy. Any sympathy I felt turned to ice. Good, I typed back. She deserves every bit of it. Adam noticed the change in me. Nat, he said one night as we lay in bed, Ava sleeping peacefully between us. I'm glad she's out of our lives, but you're scaring me a little. I turned to face him, my voice calm and steady. Scaring you? Adam, she tried to take our daughter. If I hadn't stopped her, Ava might be gone right now. I know, he said softly, but at some point you have to let it go. We won, she's finished. I shook my head. No, Adam, Brooke isn't finished until she can't hurt us ever again. I need to make sure she never has the chance to rise back up. Adam's face darkened with concern. Nat, what are you planning? I didn't answer. Because I didn't want him to know. Not yet. The next phase of my plan required precision. I started planting subtle rumors about Brooke through mutual acquaintances, whispers about her drug use, her mental health breakdowns, her dangerous behavior. These weren't entirely lies. She was unstable. But I embellished just enough to make sure no one would ever trust her again. Then I anonymously sent tips to local news stations about a woman who tried to abduct her niece. The story spread like wildfire. Reporters camped outside her last known address, snapping photos of her disheveled and desperate. Within a month, Brooke's reputation was completely destroyed. She couldn't get a job, couldn't find a place to live, couldn't even walk down the street without people whispering. Finally, I arranged for the finishing blow. Using an alias, I sent Brooke a message pretending to be someone willing to help her get Ava back. I offered her a fake address where we were supposedly keeping the baby. The trap was set. Adam begged me not to go through with it, but I silenced him with a single look. She needs to be exposed for who she really is, once and for all. When Brooke showed up at the address, ranting and screaming about how she was there to rescue her baby, the police were waiting. This time, she wasn't just arrested. She was taken to a psychiatric facility for evaluation. And when the officers led her away, I finally allowed myself to breathe. But deep inside, I knew this wasn't truly the end. Because as she was dragged into the police car, Brooke turned her head and locked eyes with me. Her lips curled into a chilling smile. "This isn't over, Natalie," she hissed. "Not by a long shot." Brooke's words echoed in my mind for weeks after her arrest. "This isn't over, Natalie." Even though she was locked away in a psychiatric facility, I couldn't shake the feeling that she was right. Brooke had always been a master manipulator, twisting people to her will. I knew she'd find a way to get out eventually, and when she did, she'd come for me. But life didn't stop just because of my fear. Ava was growing fast, babbling her first words, giggling whenever Adam tossed her in the air. Our home finally felt safe again. Adam did everything he could to bring joy back into our lives: Sunday morning pancakes, movie nights, surprise flowers left on my bedside table. On the surface, we looked like the perfect little family. But inside, I was still at war. One chilly morning, I received an anonymous letter in the mail. No return address, no name, just a single sheet of paper with 2 words written in Brooke's familiar, loopy handwriting. "Miss me." My stomach dropped. My hands trembled so badly I almost tore the paper in half. "Adam," I screamed. He came running, panic on his face. "What happened? What's wrong?" I held up the letter, my voice cracking. "She's out. Somehow she's out." Adam's jaw clenched. "That's impossible. She was supposed to be in that facility for at least a year." "Clearly," I snapped, "they didn't keep her there long enough." Adam wrapped his arms around me, murmuring reassurances, but I couldn't focus on his words. My mind was spinning, already plotting my next move. This wasn't going to be another round of defense. If Brooke wanted a war, I was going to end it on my terms permanently. I called the detective who had handled Brooke's original case. He confirmed my worst fear. Brooke had been released after claiming she was rehabilitated and no longer a danger to society. The system had failed me, again. That night, as Adam slept beside me, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, listening to the baby monitor's soft static. I thought about every sleepless night, every panic attack, every time I jolted awake imagining Brooke's hands on Ava. I thought about the video of Brooke sneaking into our home, about the way she'd called herself Mommy. And I realized there was only one way to make sure Ava was safe forever. The next morning, I dropped Ava off at my parents' house, kissed her chubby cheeks, and told my mom we just needed a few hours alone. Then I went hunting. It didn't take long to find Brooke. She wasn't hiding, she never did. She thrived on confrontation, on chaos. I spotted her sitting outside a rundown cafe, scrolling through her phone like she didn't have a care in the world. Her hair was greasy, her clothes wrinkled, but her eyes still burned with that same unhinged obsession. When she saw me, her lips curved into a slow, mocking smile. "Natalie," she purred, standing up, "I was hoping you'd come." I kept my voice cold, steady. "You need to leave us alone, Brooke. This ends today." "Oh, it will end," she said, tilting her head. "Just not the way you think." The conversation quickly escalated. Brooke ranted about how Ava was destined to be hers, how Adam didn't deserve me, how I had stolen everything she ever wanted. Her voice grew louder and more erratic until people inside the cafe began to stare. "You don't deserve to be a mother," she screamed. "You're weak, you're pathetic. Ava needs someone strong, someone like me." My vision tunneled. I wasn't scared anymore. I wasn't even angry. I was done. In one smooth motion, I pulled out my phone and hit record. "Go on, Brooke," I said softly. "Tell me again how you're going to take my daughter." Brooke didn't even hesitate. She spewed everything, threats, plans, even admitting to sneaking into my house that night. When she finally noticed the phone, it was too late. "You think anyone will believe you over me?" she hissed, lunging for it. But I stepped back and raised my voice. "Help, she's threatening me." A group of bystanders rushed over, restraining Brooke until the police arrived. When the officers saw the video and heard the witnesses, they didn't hesitate. Brooke was cuffed on the spot, screaming and thrashing as they dragged her away. This time, she wouldn't be released into a cushy facility. This time, she was going to prison. The trial was swift. With the video, witness testimony, and her past record, the jury took less than an hour to convict her on multiple charges, including attempted kidnapping and harassment. As the judge read the sentence, 15 years without parole, Brooke turned to me one last time. Her eyes were wild, her face twisted with hatred. "I'll never forgive you for this, Natalie," she screamed. "When I get out, I'll..." The bailiff shoved her forward before she could finish. The heavy courtroom doors slammed shut, cutting off her voice forever. And just like that, she was gone. Months later, life finally returned to normal. Adam and I moved to a new house in a different town, far from the chaos Brooke had left behind. Ava thrived, surrounded by love and stability. Some nights I'd sit in the rocking chair by her crib, watching her sleep, and feel a deep, quiet peace settle over me. Brooke was gone. We were safe. But deep down, I knew I'd never be the same. Because I'd learned something important through all of this. Evil doesn't just appear one day, fully formed. Sometimes it grows quietly, hidden behind smiles and sweet words. And sometimes it shares your blood. Soft, chilling music plays as the camera zooms in on Ava sleeping peacefully, then cuts to a family photo of Natalie, Adam, and Ava smiling together. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. And remember, the people who claim to love us the most can sometimes be the ones who hurt us the worst.